experiments, but others are pieces of poetry, and other parts of it are much more speculative. There's a fiction that runs through this, a kind of narrative fiction that runs through parts of it. Some of it's very self-referential. Some of it has been published in other places, so it's different pieces of knowledge and creativity from the outside world kind of intersect with it. So there's documentation and exhibition, an art exhibition which kind of flows into an art exhibit. And for me that feels much more appropriate to the kind of things that I'm talking about. So in this blog, there isn't a single kind of knowledge. Knowledge itself moves in and out between sometimes being hard and distant and visualizable and firm, and referring to theorists in the way that I referred to in the YouTube video, properly footnoted and referenced. But other times it gets much more tactile and haptic and internal to do with taste and how things make you feel. And I'm trying to find ways within this, reasonably successfully, of moving across those different knowledge forms. That makes sense? I wouldn't encourage everyone to read it, because it is miles and miles and miles. Okay. So where should we go next? Let's just go back to YouTube again. So all the time I'm doing this, I'm making the YouTube videos. And what I'm starting to learn in the blogging thing is that, well, two things I'm starting to happen. Firstly, I'm starting to think, oh, actually people are reading this blog. I disabled comments, so no one can comment on it. But some people I know, I said, oh, I read your blog last night. Well, that's interesting how you said about this. So there's something interesting going on about the fact it's happening in public, the blog. And just knowing that changes what you do in a very sort of way. But also, the way that blogging technology works, I will take it back there just for a moment, is that it brings natural structure to it. It isn't like a set of passive inert files that just sit in your hard drive. When you make postings on the blog, as you probably know, they kind of self-organize. So also the beginning of this strange kind of editing process happening to it, an organization process happening to all that work, which you have no part of, or very little part of. None of it's internal, nothing's happening inside here. But somehow out there, in the web in this case, processes are taking place. So, for example, all the postings, I'll just take you to the first time is a particularly good example. I'll just take you in a couple of things. So all of these various postings, which I said a massive range of different kinds, all of them come, for example, with these tags. People know about tags if you've got a Flickr account or any kind of blog or anything like that yourself. You can just put keywords attached to it. But of course, what happens when you start tagging things is that things start to collate and organize themselves into themes. I mean, I wasn't thinking about these things thematicizing themselves, but they do. So there's a whole chapter, if you like, if you want to call it that, a self-organizing chapter about creativity. Again, written in very different styles, some of which is relatively straightforward and it refers to theorists, and some of which is actually not. Some of which is completely speculative and made up. Sometimes I just get an idea, wouldn't bother to check my facts, just write it anyway. Something which is a complete no-no in formal academic terms. Do that. But in this context I can, because I'm qualifying and hedging it in with different understandings of what knowledge is. And some of which is just kind of poetic, really. Or it's a kind of visual image or something like that. So in addition to this incontinent process where you're just writing whatever you think at the time, you're just letting the idea move in and out of objectivity towards something more subjective, move in and out of poetry and abstractions, out towards more traditional and standard knowledge. It's also starts to self-organize. It's strange. I don't know why or how this kind of is. And it's also starting to appear in different ways. I won't take it there because it would take too long to understand, but to demonstrate. But what I'm also starting to find about 2/3 way through this process is that in addition to having a kind of self-organization, things like the tags bringing parts of it together, it's also kind of organizing itself laterally to other kinds of work. So it starts appearing, for example, in Google search results. So our Google search results, instead of saying, I'll see a number of references to people I'm interested in, and there's me. Oh, that's interesting. And it's just the way that Google works. You know, I haven't done anything. It's just the system itself is kind of self-organized around it. Or particular themes, because obviously blogging is a real-time event. It happens on a particular day, and everything you do is date and time stamps and all that kind of stuff. So it's also forming connections to other things that happen on that day. You know, it locates itself in a particular historical time period. So there's something interesting about that as well. I'm finding quite fascinating. Okay, so all the time I'm doing this, and that's all sort of interesting. But I'm also doing the YouTube thing at the same time. And as you can see, I still am doing the YouTube. And the same kind of things are happening. Because again, you tag YouTube videos and you upload it and you put keywords in it, you tag it. What's different about YouTube, or what was different from my process, was that I did open it to comments and ratings, so people can look at it and comment on it. It's also open for linking, and it's also possible in YouTube to be a subscriber, or for you to subscribe to other account holders. Are you familiar with this idea? So I start to gather a group of like-minded individuals around it. Well, not even like-minded individuals. There's about 300 subscribers on this particular channel. And they're a very strange demographic, I have to say. I've got access to the demographic stats, and yes, sure enough, most of them are men about my age, and that's kind of unexpected. But I've also got a whole flotilla of 14-year-old heavy metal fans in Texas who watch this, and I have no idea why. And they watch this and they leave comments in occasional videos. And I can go and look at their channel, and it's all Slipknot, and it's all Offspring, and then there's me. That's strange. So something weird happened there at some point when we came across this in the search. And now I appear on there. And because I appear in one or two of them, of course, other heavy metal fans who go to their channel and I find mine, and there's something odd in that. There's also quite a lot of either hardcore atheists, or on the other hand, hardcore religious believers, which is fine. One or two of these do take on religious belief, because belief and knowledge and doubt and faith, a kind of constellation of terms I keep coming back to. So I'm not entirely surprised. So some of my tags do have words like faith and doubt or belief. And because of that, I've got a whole series of people who are arguing either for or against various forms of religion or lack of. And that's quite interesting. And they're leaving comments, and I'm responding to those comments. So that's affecting the kind of knowledge that's being produced. It's not just mine anymore, apart from anything else, because the people are contributing. And it's also forcing me to think about things that I wasn't really planning to think about necessarily. So as this is proceeding, it's not proceeding as a series of hard objects placed out there in space for all time. I place them out there, somebody does something to them, and I'm forced to go back and look at them again to see how they've changed. That kind of makes sense. So I can kind of take them into myself and put them out again, and take them in and put them out again, which is slightly odd. And of course, just again, the structure of YouTube does various things to it. So I'm just going to go into some details of this one. What inevitably happens with, again, just because of the way that YouTube organizes itself, is that you always get these related things, for example. So I'm finding myself in odd company in all these videos. You know, normally you're in very strict control of the company you keep in your output. You write an essay, you have a list of references and boxes, or a list of artworks that you feel are influential, and that's the constituency that you then locate yourself with. That's the piece of knowledge out there that you're putting your object in. Yeah? With this, I have no control of the constituency, or very little control over the constituency. So I'm getting, I seem to be getting a lot of people to do with strokes and persistence of memory on this one, which is slightly on marijuana, a gateway drug. Some of that isn't terribly surprising, actually. But,
there was a toy trial for children.
What?
It was a memory something.